Hello, everybody that's tuning in this evening. Tiara, hey cousin, how are you? Um, I hope everybody is doing well that's tuning in here. Uh, I'm going to get started in just a minute. Hello, Yolanda, how are you? I still have to order my daughter a pair of your tippy tot shoes. Listen, for everybody that's tuning in right now, there's a lady on this live video. Um, she's watching. Her name is Yolanda D. Rogers. She has a brand, a company by the name of Tippy Tot Shoes. Um, she's a black business owner. She is a woman, of course, she. But she has beautiful shoes for toddlers. And so check out her website. I believe, Yolanda, if I am not giving the information out correctly, just type it in the comments. But her website is tippytotshoes.com, and just check it out and see what she's got going on. Beautiful shoes for pre-walkers and toddlers. Who else is on? Jamie. Hi, Jamie. How are you? So, if you see the title here, it says Healing 101. This work is not for the weak. I'm going to be talking a little bit about healing this evening. I hope I'm not going to be before you long, but it has been placed on my heart to share and just discuss this topic with you guys. First, I would like to say that I am no specialist or anything in this area. However, I have done a lot of inner work in this area, and so anything that I share with you will be from, experience, as well as discussions with others who are professionals and or just other individuals who have took it upon themselves to embark on their healing journeys as well. And that's exactly what it is. Healing is a journey, like anything with life. TJ Worker. Hey cousin, I'm good. How are you? I'm sideways. Okay, thanks, Star. Let me see. I may have to. Okay, is that better? Yeah, I think we're good now. Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, thank you, Star, though. Thank you for letting me know that. Thank you so much. So, as I was saying, I am just going to share with you all what has been um, placed on my heart to share. So if you notice and if you just pay attention to what's going on in the world today, there is a lot of chaos. There is a lot of chaos, right? Lots of chaos happening, not just in this country, but in other countries as well. One of the things probably a year or so ago that was spoken to me was that God is healing the land, right? And so, so many of us, whether you're in church or whatever, so many people saw the chaos of what was happening, and, they started praying prayers of, God heal our land, heal the nations, heal our land. Well, that's actually happening. But, what we see is chaos, right? and turmoil and pain, lots of pain. And that's kind of what healing is like. That's what it's like. Um, I think whenever we hear the word healing, um, depending upon your experience and your background, you think that it is something that is just miraculous, which it can be. I'm not denying that it's not miraculous. But with the word miraculous, your mind is has been perhaps, mentally you think that it's something that's just absolutely beautiful, or it's good, it feels good, when it doesn't. Healing is actually an oxymoron. Like, healing, it hurts. You have to hurt in order to heal. And then, you're probably thinking, well, how is that so when I'm already hurting? Well, perhaps you are already hurting, and some of us, everybody deals with their pain, with their hurt differently. So, some of us, we may like to suppress it or bury it or pretend that it's not there, or, certain experiences that we've gone through like they've never happened, right? So when it's time to heal, you have to peel back that Band-Aid. And when you open it, when you open up a wound, what happens? It starts to bleed, perhaps, right? And so that's what happens when you peel back those old wounds and old experiences of things that you've gone through. You go through a hurting process again. And so that's part of the healing process. Healing, it hurts. And so I'm noticing, and I'm just seeing, everything that's happening in the world. And I'm also seeing a lot of different people who are coming out and making their voices known, be it about, certain traumas that they've gone through, or, bad relationships that they've had in the past, whether it be familial or, boyfriend, girlfriend, whether it be marriages or whatever. A lot of people are coming forward and they're speaking about experiences. And so there's a lot of healing that's going on in the earth and in the world. Everywhere that I turn, it's something, whether it be a meme or, something that someone's sharing or whatever, is promoting healing or is geared towards healing. And so I think it's so important to discuss now, or just to share, what is that? What does that feel like? What expectations am I to have, of healing? And so, we tend to, everybody wants to, possess wealth, or, the nice house, materialistic things. Everybody wants to get to that next level, right? Everybody will shout all day long about, promotions or getting to the next level. However, before you can even attain the next level, you have to go through a process of purging, a process of, removing old habits, a process of alienation, a process of healing. In order for us to become our best selves, we have to grow. We have to level up, not just externally, because, a lot of times, that's all we're concerned is what we see on the outside, but you have to level up on the inside. And guess what? That takes work. It takes work. It takes you being present. It takes you being present, and it takes you being vulnerable, right? Vulnerable, right? And for so many of us, that can be a struggle within itself, is, opening up a part of you that you buried, or that you didn't want to face, or that you didn't want to acknowledge, right? So you have to be vulnerable when it comes to healing, talking about the things that you went through, or the things that people, said to you or about you. Yes, Star, yes, you have to work on yourself. Self-love is the best love. It is. It is so true. It is. And so, all of this is part of the process. And so, you can't attain a next level without going through this work. Because if you skip this work and you get to that level and you attain all of that, you're bringing in, those negative habits at the same time, or those behaviors, or those cycles and things. And so if you were able to bring that along with you, then everything that you attained, you wouldn't be able to maintain it very long. Not with the old habits, not with the old thinking, not with the old mindset, not with the old routines of doing things, right? One thing that I would like to say that is, I think, very important when it comes to business in relationships. Some of us may be scarred from old friendships that we had. Perhaps it was that, yes, the old you has to die. That is so true. Perhaps it was old friendships that you had, in elementary or high school, where nobody liked you, and so you have an issue with trusting people. Well, guess what? If you try to take that, to your next level, then somebody who may very well be a blessing to you or your business and what you're trying to do, if you're not able to trust anybody, then you'll limit yourself. You can prevent your blessings by not doing this work, okay? So it's very important to engage in this work. And something I would say, you have to go with the goods, leave the bad in the back. Yes, that's what you have to do. And so perhaps you feel, nudges, in the direction of healing, or, a lot of times it can be, perhaps you're trying to figure out, how do I know if I need to heal from something? Well, pay attention to your behaviors or your habits. Is there something that frustrates you, right? Like something specific. Is it something that frustrates you? And then how do you respond to that? Is your response to that frustration, is it consistent? Does it happen every time? And then what is the result of you responding in that manner? Does it yield something good, or does it yield, something negative? You possibly getting locked up, or somebody getting hurt, or you being sick, or hanging over the toilet vomiting, whatever the case may be. What do your behaviors, what results do your behaviors yield? And if that's the case, if any of those things are true, or if you find yourself not being able to get along with anybody, if you're always angry, if you feel stuck, that can be something. If you feel stuck and you're not really sure on how to go, or just how to deal with life in general, you can trust no one but yourself in the minute above. That's right. Then healing may be something that you need to embark on. Healing is available for everybody. It's available for everyone, but not everyone will embark on it. Not everyone will initiate this journey in their life. And there's so many people who are walking around, even so now, who don't realize that they're broken, who don't realize that they're in pain, who don't realize that they're depressed or mentally ill, because it's something that we don't necessarily pay attention to, because it's internal. Like I said, we are so fixated on external things and materialistic things that we forget about our souls, that we forget about our spirit, and that we forget about loving ourselves and nurturing ourselves. and taking care of ourselves. And so that's why we find, so many people who are oblivious um, to this inner work that needs to happen because we're so fixated on materialistic and external things. And so, if you feel that it is something that you should embark on, one of the things that I would encourage is, again, like I said, the number one thing is to be vulnerable, is to be open. So there may be an incident, right? There may have been an experience or something that you've gone through in your life, something that you have tried to bury, something that nobody knows about, something that you don't talk about. And it may be something that plays over and over in your mind that you want to forget, but you cannot. All right? Perhaps it's what people said about you, what your family members said about you, how they talked about you, how they alienated you, friends or family, anything. It could be any situation, right? But whatever the situation, however you dealt with it and gone through it, you have to be vulnerable and acknowledge that whatever it is, whatever was said, that it happened, okay? Yes, it did happen. And then once you acknowledge that the event or that the trauma did take place, then you have to acknowledge your feelings about it. How does this make me feel? What am I feeling? Am I feeling rage? Am I feeling guilt? Am I feeling shame? Am I feeling anger? Am I feeling depressed? Or am I just numb? Am I just numb? Some of us, and I can say this by experience, some of us, what we may do is we just to get by, just to get through survival, just to survive what has happened or whatever over the years, we suppress it, and so we numb ourselves, be it via addictions of any sort, whether it's watching pornography or engaging in sexual activities, if it's excessive spending, if it's drinking alcohol, if it's clubbing every weekend, whatever, those are different things that you can use to cover up what it is that is actually going on with you, to just numb yourself from what happened. So if any of those things are true, then perhaps, healing is something that you need to embark on. As I was saying, this is the work that nobody talks about. This is, and why is that? Can we talk about why nobody talks about it? Because there's a shame to it, right? There's like, no, there's nothing wrong with me. Like, no, I'm fine, right? Nobody wants to admit that we're weak or that we're broken or that we're hurting. Nobody wants to admit that. But with admitting it and being able to acknowledge it, it actually makes you a lot stronger than most. Again, that's the oxymoron of healing, right? So, nobody wants to talk about it because they don't want to look or appear inferior or weak. But by actually doing the work and embarking on this journey, you are actually strong. And at the end of that journey for you, you will meet a higher version of yourself. And so that, at the end of the day, is everybody's goal. But some of us find different ways to get there. And a lot of times, perhaps your experience isn't anything that happened to you. It could be grief, losing the loss of a loved one. Perhaps, you had a family member who was murdered, shot, cold blood, or maybe it was just the loss of a mother or somebody that was near and dear to your heart. All of these things and how we deal with them and or how we choose to ignore them end up affecting us as individuals and affect our behaviors and how we deal with people. And so, as I said, a lot of this is going on. I'm seeing so much about, families and the lack of conversation or discussion, be it, a mother-daughter relationship or mother-son or father-son relationship. We have suppressed communication and relating with each other for the sake of, whatever it is that, that family member may have done to us. And so a lot of times what happens is, or what may happen is, we will feel bad for bringing up something to a family member, right? Even though this is our healing and we have to take charge of this for ourselves. Nobody can do it for us, all right? And here's something else I would like to address. At the end of the day, your life is your life. Regardless of what was done to you, regardless of what was said about you, regardless of what hindrance you felt that you had, regardless if you felt like you had, the best childhood or not, your life is your life. And regardless of the experiences that you may have had, you have to take control of your life. You can't allow what was done and what was said to control you, to prevent you from moving forward, to prevent you from excelling, to prevent you from being successful. You can't say, well, I just ended up being like this because, my father wasn't in the home, he wasn't around. No, you can't blame him. You can't blame him for that at the end of the day. For the lack of your success? Really? No, you can't say that, well, they told me I'd be, I wouldn't pass kindergarten or whatever, that I was dumb. And so, I believed it or whatever. You cannot blame the lack of your success or the lack of your achievement on somebody else when you are responsible for your life at the end of the day. And so this work, only you can do it for you, right? Only you can initiate this work for you. And so what that entails, or what that may look like, is you going to an individual and saying, this is what happened between us, and this is how I'm feeling about it. A lot of times we're afraid to do that for fear of the other person getting upset. All right? And I'll say that again. Sometimes we will prevent our own healing in advancing because we're afraid of coming to the other person and bringing up a situation for fear of them getting upset. All right? And like I said, at the end of the day, your healing is yours. And so perhaps they do get upset. 9 times out of 10, they probably will. They probably may not want to acknowledge it at first. There's a certain way that you can communicate these things with people. One is to be as, calm as possible. And one thing within itself is, a lot of us don't really know how to have healthy or effective communication. We think yelling to get our point across is healthy communication, and it's not. A lot of times that prevents us from even getting to a solution because we don't know how to cross dialogue, so to speak. So, you address them in a certain way. And like I said, they may not receive it right off, but the process has begun. The process has now been initiated, all right? They are now aware of something that they did that affected you. And at the same time that this has been acknowledged, and you bringing it forward and you speaking about it, now a journey, your healing journey, has begun. And so something I would like to say is, just because you started or you began it or you're able to get something out or you're able to speak about something does not mean that that's it. Healing is not an overnight thing. It's an ongoing process. And what you'll see is once it is initiated, it can be sporadic. It can be very sporadic. And what I mean by that is there may be some days where you have highs and lows, and that's just life in general. We all have highs and lows. But with this healing process, your emotions, you may have high emotions one day and you may have low emotions one day. You may just find yourself just feeling really sad and not really knowing why or what it is going on. Or you may feel yourself just really exhausted, really tired, and really worn and not know what's going on. Crying and not knowing why. All of this is part of the healing process. All of this is part of the inner work. And so when I say that this work is not for the weak, it is not, because a lot of us would just rather, just stay comfortable, just be comfortable in our mess, be comfortable in depression, be comfortable in feeling sorry for ourselves, be comfortable in being stuck and stagnant. But then there are those who are willing to embrace the struggle and the challenge and the pain for what it is in order to get to where they want to be in life or to achieve the things that they want to achieve in life. And so, you may have these periods where I said it's just up and down, and that can be uncomfortable, and you will want to give up. You will want to say, you know what, I'm done with this. I thought this was going to be over already. And that's kind of where I have been mentally with my process is I just want to hurry up and get over this. Like, I'm ready to get this behind me. I'm ready to get over this relationship with this family member or whoever, with this friend. Excuse me. I just want to get over this so I can move on. But a scripture or verse that had came to my mind this week, and I'm not quoting it verbatim. If somebody else would like to drop it in there that knows it, that's fine. But it says, but let patience have her work, right? Let patience have her work. And I should have, I can look this up. Let patience have her work so that you may be perfect and entire and lacking nothing. I want to go ahead and pull that up now since I mentioned it so that I can say it verbatim. But that was something that came to my mind this week. And so when we allow patience to rule, right? When we allow patience to come in, when we take on patience, then things can really, happen without us feeling a need to rush or get past them, right? Because when you rush and you try to get over things quickly, you can end up missing out, right? You can end up missing out on something that's very valuable to you, or that's going to help push you, or that's going to bless you. Sometimes it's a blessing to walk other directions in you and your life. Yes. And so here's the verse. It's in James. It says, James 1:4 says, but let patience have her perfect work, that ye may be perfect and entire and wanting nothing. And so that is what I was starting out with in the beginning, is that, we want to get to these levels, get to these new levels of living without doing the work. And so you have to be patient through this process of healing. It is not easy. It does not happen overnight. It may take you 1 or 2 years, but you need to be patient and allow things to be removed from you for, your spirit, your soul to be cleansed, so that you can heal those old wounds that are preventing you from receiving, a new relationship. Let's just take this for example. let's just say, you have had, your past relationships or that of, domestic violence or verbal abuse, all right? And so a lot of times what happens is perhaps you saw that as a child. Perhaps you saw that as a child, in your home, your mother or your father. It can be either. A lot of times we think it's always men that are the aggressors, but that's not always the case. There are women who can be the aggressors as well. So let's just say, you grew up in a home where that's what you saw, one beating the other, one verbally abusing and demeaning the other, and then you see that, and then you unconsciously can take on that behavior without actually knowing it, okay? And with you taking on that behavior, then you can then infiltrate the same behaviors in any relationship that you have. With any person that you meet, you can repeat those same behaviors that you were taught, that you learned, that you saw, with others. And so then it just becomes a cycle. It'll become a cycle. Every somebody you meet, you'll try to carry on the same thing, unless there's somebody that says, hey, I'm not for this is not what I do, and they leave you, right? And then you'll just get into another one and repeat the cycle. So you'll continue to repeat the cycle until you see that there's an issue, until you see that, something is reoccurring here. It doesn't feel good. I'm not really sure why I keep meeting this type of person. And what have you. And so it'll continue until something goes off that says, something's not right. And at that point, you do the work. But say you don't. Say you continue to carry that, carry on those same behaviors, and you meet your husband. You meet the person, or your wife. You meet the one that you're supposed to be with this old mentality, this same old behavior. You're carrying out these same actions, want to be yelling and fighting, thinking that that's love, and you can ruin or tarnish your blessing, okay? So that's just one example of how, if we don't deal with things, how they can affect other areas of our lives. I mentioned earlier how, perhaps, you had an experience that left you not being able to trust people. Well, that can affect, business relationships, down the road, to where people who actually want to be there for you and support you, you not knowing how to embrace them or pushing them off because of what happened to you in the past, you can limit your blessings, okay? Let's see. Yes, Star, you have to take the initiative. Yes, cousin, that's good. So, at the end of the day, your healing is up to you. We are powerful beyond measure, but we allow our situations to hold us hostage. Exactly, we hold us hostage. And so, whenever you decide that you don't want to be hostage anymore, then you will find yourself becoming vulnerable and saying, okay, God, what is it? What is it that I need to do at this point in my life where I am in order to be who you created me to be? All right? Because all of us have purpose. All of us have purpose. All of us have certain talents and gifts that we have been endowed with in order to build, people, build the kingdom. And so at some point you'll get to say, okay, God, what is it? I'm tired of going through the same old stuff. What is it that I need to do? And what you'll see is if you are in tune with the Spirit, hey, Jaron, if you are in tune with the Spirit, then with the Spirit of God, okay? So let me be specific because I don't want people anyway. If you are in tune, okay, with God, then you'll notice it'll be the small things, right? The things that we typically pass over. It'll be the small messages that you see, in the semi truck that's just passing you by, or that the little girl, speaks, or the message that you may hear on the radio, or the conversation that you may be having with your friend. All of these things can lead you and push you into the place or into your journey of healing. And so you have to be in tune with what is happening, be in tune with the work. And a lot of times what happens is once you initiate this journey, what will happen is, like I said, it's sporadic. What can happen is day to day, you could be sitting in a restaurant having dinner or lunch or whatever with your friend, and all of a sudden an experience or something can just pop in the forefront of your head, pop in the forefront of your mind, and you'll be thinking, where is this coming from? Well, you initiated this journey. This is what you said you wanted, all right? And so a lot of times God will bring things to the forefront that we didn't even know. We didn't even know was bothering us, or what was limiting us, or what was holding us hostage, as Star said, right? Because, either we chose to just forget about it and we buried it so deep. But a lot of times they'll just pop up, and you could be shopping in the middle of Bath and Body Works or wherever you like to go. You could be boarding the plane. Okay, you could be in the middle of a business meeting, and what do you do? What do you do when these experiences, when they come up, when they pop up? Well, first thing is to acknowledge them. Acknowledge it. Yes, that happened. Okay? And acknowledge your feelings and your emotions around it. What is this that I'm feeling? Why do I feel this way? And then after you're acknowledging it, address it. Address it. Whether it be the person or the thought or whatever. Address it. Address it head on. And something else that I would like to say here is that there is nothing wrong with seeking help outside of family, outside of friends, outside of the church. There's nothing wrong with seeking counsel, okay? And what I mean by that, there is nothing wrong with going to see a therapist, all right? Because these people went to school for this, so they're able to assist you in a way that would allow you to be vocal about something that you've never spoken about, or better yet, helping you process. That's the main thing, is helping you process and helping you unravel, these things, pull them apart so that they can make sense to you. Now, by me recommending or saying that, you need to go see a therapist, is that me saying that, oh, well, God can't heal you? No, that's not what I'm saying by any means whatsoever. Because even after you see a therapist, there may be some things that you have gone through that only God can do for you, that only God can heal, that only God can remove. But a therapist is there to help you process your way through it, okay? And it's good to be able to have some support during your healing process. So I would highly recommend, and there's no shame in it. The reason why people feel like there's so much shame to, healing or mental health or going to see a therapist is because we don't talk about it. We don't talk about these things. And so that's why they're so taboo, because nobody talks about this stuff at the dinner table. That's why issues continue to pile up on top of each other, stacking up, because we're not talking about, the root of what happened. And so what happens, they just keep building and building and building and building and building up here until at some point somebody's going to crack. Somebody's going to lose it. Perhaps it may be a mental breakdown or whatever for somebody. But at some point, all of us will come to terms with our experiences. Yes, Star, is exactly generational stuff that's just been passed down that nobody in the family wants to talk about, and we'll walk around here with our face made up and with the nice cars and everybody looking good. But ain't nobody talking about how, uncle, whoever, molested his niece or his nephew. We don't talk about this stuff. And so then it just continues to happen. And our families are in chains or, become hostage to these things because nobody's healing, nobody's talking about it, nobody's dealing with it. All right? And something else that I would like to say, that if you are one in your family who is given, I want to say, the baton to start this healing within your family, understand that with change, doesn't come without resistance. Change doesn't come without a fight. So you may get pushback. In fact, you will get pushback. Somebody may call you a lie and say, you just made that all up. You weren't even there when this happened, okay? You don't know that that's true or whatever. You may get pushback. That's natural, and that's okay. You continue to do the work that is placed on the inside of you for your family anyway. Because at the end of the day, change is what the goal should be, all right? Becoming whole is what the goal should be. That is what it should be about at the end of the day. And as I was saying, it's a process. You can't rush it. Because if you try to rush it, then you may end up missing out on something that needs to happen inside of you to make you better, to make you whole. So that when you get to certain levels of success, however you define it, then certain things won't bother you anymore because you've done the work. What people say won't bother you anymore because you've done the work and you know that what was said about you isn't true. Okay? And so it's important to know that a lot of times what we hold on to are perceptions. Our perceptions of what has happened to us plays a big part. Your mindset and your thinking plays a big part of this. And so, if you say that because this was done, I'm not worthy of happiness. All right, that's how your mind can process, or the perspective that you can pick up based on an experience that you had is that I'm not worthy to have this, or I'm not loved because my father didn't stay around. All right, that could be a case also. So you will process different experiences based on this mindset, is that I'm not worthy. Nobody loves me because my father wasn't there. I'm not worthy because they left me. All right. And so you'll act from that place, from that mindset, from that perception. And it's not until when you go through your healing process that you realize that, no, that's not so. So let's just say that after you've addressed it, right? And so if you're just coming in live, joining me right now, please catch the beginning of the video, because all of this is flowing. I hope it all makes sense for you. But because I said to acknowledge and address it. And so after addressing your father, like, yo, where were you? Why did you leave? Let's say the conversation goes like, let's say your father says, well, I wasn't around because, I wasn't prepared. Or let's say, that your father says, my father wasn't there for me and I just didn't know what to do. I was scared, right? Let's say that your father says, during the time that your mother was pregnant, I was embarking on my career going to school, playing ball, or whatever the case may be, and I wasn't there. So once it's addressed, then you're able to discover the truth of the situation. So perhaps the truth is, and what you processed to be, was that your father didn't love you, when actually, perhaps he thought he was going to do more damage than good because he didn't see a father figure. All right, let's say that be true. Then it wasn't that he didn't love you. It was that he didn't know how to step up to the plate and be there. So through the process of discussion and addressing it, you realize that the truth is not that you're not loved. It's not that you're unlovable. And so then from that place, you can receive that. You can receive that I am loved, I am lovable, because you learned the truth about a situation and what it actually was. You got to the root. Let me say that. You got to the root of an issue, okay? And so now you can receive that, I am loved, I am lovable. And moving forward, you can now change whatever habits or behaviors you were carrying out in the process of, I'm unlovable, I'm not loved, to now saying I am lovable and I am loved. And you can begin to embrace new things. You can now receive, new things, or, things that are for you. And that's what it's all about. It's about purging and getting rid of the old in order to receive new, in order to receive, what is yours. And so also through this process, as I said, it's uncomfortable. There's a lot of shedding. I said purging. There's a lot of shedding that has to take place. And that doesn't feel good. That doesn't feel good at all. Nor is it cute. It's not. But it's what must take place in order for something beautiful to be birthed, or for something beautiful to start, a new beginning, right? And so something about a new beginning that I learned or was able to discover is that oftentimes it's like peeling an onion. Exactly. And thank you for saying that, Star. And I'm going to touch on that. It is. It's like peeling an onion. But something that about new beginnings that I have discovered just over time is that a lot of times new beginnings will take place at the onset of something traumatic, something that we feel we could never come back from, or something that we feel is like the end of the world, right? New beginnings are disguised in the folds of that, right? In the folds of chaos. Like I was saying in the beginning, there's a lot of chaos that's happening right now, but at the same time, there's a lot of healing that's taking place as well. And so Star has said that it's like peeling an onion. It may cause you to cry, but it's necessary to move all of that pain. Yes. And so, perhaps you're 35 years old, right? And perhaps you have now initiated this phase of this journey of healing in your life. Well, guess what? You're going to have a lot of layers to peel back from your 35 years of living on this earth, and having breathed and having lived and gone through things and experienced different emotions and feelings. There's going to be tons and tons of layers for you to peel back, especially depending upon how you handle that. Now, mind you, all of us deal with things differently. Maybe, people don't have an issue dealing with things, as they come up. But for most of us, we do. We'll deny these things and we'll put them off and we'll bury them because we don't want to admit, or we don't want to feel the pain that comes with it. And so, if you're 35 or 42 or 50, embarking on this journey, there's going to be layers of things that you'll have to address. That you'll have to address. And something that I saw someone say earlier, which was very interesting. Oh, I may have to find it to see what he said specifically. But if I can he said something to the nature that, you know, all of us are trying to figure life out right now, right? And it's like all of us are like a bunch of kids just trying to figure life out. And here is how that makes sense, or here is how that is so true. So perhaps, especially for those of us that say, you know, I'm stuck, I'm stagnant, perhaps you stopped growing, okay, growing. Perhaps you stopped growing at the age or at the time that an experience happened to you, all right? You know, at the time that you were molested, at the time that you were raped, at the time that you were abused, verbally or physically, whatever it is, you know, if it's, you know, a car accident or, you know, something traumatic, whatever it is, perhaps you stop growing internally at that point, and that happens. That will happen. Your growth will be stunted. And yes, you'll age. You know, you'll have your 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, all the way up until your 30th birthday. Yes, you may have that. But internally, you're still that 13-year-old little boy whose father told him he was never going to be anything, and who had to figure life out on his own now. But you're 32 and you have your own family and everything. But internally, you're still that 13-year-old boy. Or perhaps, if you're a woman, you know, perhaps, you know, you stopped evolving or you stopped growing at 8 years old, you know, when your cousin molested you. All right? Yes, you continue to age, but you weren't able to mature because that experience, that trauma, blocked you from growing, all right? You stayed quiet, you stayed shuttered, you stayed to yourself, all right? And you weren't able to grow, to bloom. And so, you know, even in your adult age, you can be making decisions from an 8-year-old mindset. You know, if something doesn't go your way and you throw tantrums or whatever, you know, that could be the 13-year-old little boy who's upset, you know, that his father walked out on him. And so that's how you respond to any and everything, you know, anybody that leaves or anything that goes your way. And so that's why it's important to be able to take your finger, because nobody can do this for you, again, and I will repeat that, nobody can do this for you. It's important for you to be able to take your finger and look and examine your life and see, what is it that I need to work on to become better, or to change a certain behavior, or whatever the case may be. And so, you know, we have all of us, we come from different backgrounds. We come from different experiences, different cultures, different parts of the world, different demographics. And all of those things, you know, affect the way that we see the world, the way that we see ourselves. And whether they be false perceptions, for us, that have to be challenged in order us to find truth and discover who it is that we really are, then healing is a journey that must be embarked on. And as I said before, there is nothing wrong with seeking help. And when I say help, there's nothing wrong with talking with a professional to help you process through these things. And, this is so taboo because we don't talk about it again. It's so taboo because nobody wants to appear as though they are weak. But if you're able to admit that you have flaws, if you're able to admit that there's, parts of you that you need to work on, if you're able to acknowledge things that you've gone through, then you're actually that much more stronger than if you had not come to that realization. And so I just wanted to get on here and just share just a little bit about a journey of healing, because we think it's all flowers, because in the end, right, in the end everything is going to be great. We'll feel so much better, we'll have all this peace and joy and freedom, but the process of it may not be like that. The process of it may be very chaotic, things changing every single day, emotions here and there and not knowing what is going on. That is the reality of it. That's the reality of it. But in the end of it, you'll be a much better person. You'll meet your higher self. And you'll be able to receive and just be who it is that you have always been created and destined to be. So I'm just going to leave you guys with that. So if you're just getting on, go back to the beginning of the video so that everything makes sense as to what I actually shared with you. But just know that there's nothing wrong with seeking help. And, if you come from a religious background, a religious family, know that there's nothing wrong with seeking that help outside of church and outside of religion. There's nothing wrong with that. And going to seek help from a therapist, a counselor, or whoever, is not you denying God. It's not you denying God's power. Because as I mentioned before, there may be some things that only God will be able to heal you from or to cleanse you from. And that is going to very well be the case. And all along you're going on this journey, God is still there. He's still there. And that's something that I'm not going to say that frustrates me so much, or something that I have a difficult time understanding, is that, Christians believe that, God, Emmanuel, with us, right? God is with us. And that, God created us in his image, but yet we don't believe that he's actually with us, that his spirit is actually in us. And so you'll find, as I mentioned, that things will just come. Things will just drop in your lap. That will just come to the forefront of your memory that you didn't even think about, but that's God speaking to you. That's God revealing things to you, saying, hey, we need to deal with this. Let's deal with this, right? I'm here with you. Let's deal with this, right? And so many of us, too, we go around because all of us want companionship. That's part of human lack of faith. Yes, that's true. Exactly. All of us want companionship. All of us have a need for, to be touched, to be loved, to be accepted. We all want, somebody to be able to understand us, to be able to relate to us, to be able to take us as we are and just, wrap their arms around us. And it's like God is there. He's with you. Like, he's in you. He's right there. And we go seeking elsewhere, and he's right here. And he's well aware of your flaws and the things that you've gone through. And he still loves you. He's still there, right? Now, you go and try and take some of your traumatic experiences or things that you've gone through or done to just any person. Be like, well, this is what happened, and this is what I did, or whatever. guess what? That person might be completely turned off, and you're like, you know what? I can't do you. I cannot do that. But yet God is with us, and He's right there with us, and healing is available to us if we want it. If we want it, if we want to receive it. But just like with anything in life, you cannot have it or receive it without work. Without work. You have to do the work. You have to initiate the work. You have to acknowledge the experiences. You have to address your feelings and emotions around the experience, and also the people who may have caused these experiences in your life. And then you have to be willing to bury the lie and discover truth in order to receive better and be better. And so I hope that this was uplifting for someone. Like I said, when I came on, this was just something that was kind of on my heart to discuss. And I am sharing from, personal experiences, as well as experiences that others have shared, as well as, just help that I've received and things that I've become aware of by paying attention to what God is actually doing now. So I hope that this information was helpful. And you guys be blessed. And if you're on your journey right now, look, I see you, I feel you, keep going, because like I said, this work is not for the weak. It is not for the weak. But I just want to encourage you to keep pushing, because on the other side of everything that you have endured, right, everything that you have survived, there is a better you. There is a brighter future. So stay blessed and stay encouraged. Bye.